Hello, this is Graham, and this is a video from the Silver Wellbeing Photography course. In this quick video, we're going to look at depth of field and how to use it to make pictures with more impact. The depth of field tells us how much of our image will be in focus. Some people even refer to it as depth of focus. Narrow depth of field means that if we are focused on something, things that are a little bit closer will be out of focus, and things that are a little bit further away will also be out of focus. Narrow depth of field is really useful because it can be used to isolate our subject from distractions in front of it and especially behind it by making them fuzzy while our subject is sharp. Deep depth of field is the opposite. If we focus on the same thing but with deep depth of field, the things in front of it and behind it will also be in focus. Deep depth of field is particularly useful when our subject is moving, or when we want to grab a shot while we are moving, or at least in a hurry. This is because being focused precisely on the subject isn't as important as it should be sharp, even if the distance between us is changing. Portraits will often be taken with narrow depth of field, while landscapes will often be taken with a deep depth of field. Unless that is, you want to be creative. Environmental portraits might deliberately include the surroundings to provide a context, while a landscape might intentionally isolate something pleasing to provide a focal point. We control the depth of field with the aperture, the size of the hole between our lens and the camera sensor. A small hole means a large depth of field, while a large hole means a narrow depth of field. We won't worry about the physics of why this is the case here. We control the aperture with the aperture ring, and it's measured in what are known as f-stops. One little extra complication is that f-stops are reciprocals, which means that a large f-stop signifies a small aperture and vice versa. This isn't as complicated as it sounds. For a deep depth of field, use a big f-stop, and for a narrow depth of field, use a small f-stop. For our purposes, most lenses open up to f16 or thereabouts, so anything over f8 is likely to be a deep enough depth of field, and anything under f4 is likely to be a narrow enough depth of field. Until you get used to it, it's worth chimping, checking each shot as you take it to make sure that your picture has the effect that you want. Under normal circumstances, provided that you're using aperture priority and so have both the shutter speed and ISO sensor sensitivity set to automatic, then the camera will adjust these to give you a good exposure regardless of the depth of field.